Hello, everyone. My name is Debra Riley, and I chose to do my unit lesson on the American Civil War and the abolition of slavery. So first I will show you my unit lesson, which is the first lesson I did. It's titled A Nation Split, Events That Led to the American Civil War. And here students learn about different events leading to the Civil War and how these things caused the war to happen. One of my favorite activities here is an opening activity, which I ask students, what are some of your favorite things to do? Allow students to respond and then write down their responses on a sheet of paper titled Our Favorite Things. Read aloud some of the students' responses listed on the chart paper. Read aloud students' responses. I already read that, sorry. Ask students, close your eyes and imagine there being a time where you no longer are allowed to do anything you enjoyed doing. How would that make you feel? Allow students to respond and write their responses down on another sheet of paper, on another sheet of chart paper titled Losing Our Favorite Things. Ask students to imagine that what their lives would look like if they were no longer able to do things they enjoyed doing, or if they were no longer able to play with their favorite things. And then I said, after this discussion, and the whole purpose was just to kind of put them in the shoes of the people back then in the Civil War, and just kind of allow them to get a feeling of what it would have been like, or how they might have felt. And I told them, today we are going to learn about a time in American history where there were some people who felt as though they were losing their way of life, while other people were being able to experience certain things for the first time. So that was that lesson. The second lesson I did was on the Battle of Olustee, it was titled The Involvement of the State of Florida in the Civil War, and it focused on the Battle of Olustee. And in this lesson, we actually, since this is a thematic lesson, I tie a lot of the stuff into language arts and literature. So we did a reading of a poem on the Battle of Olustee, written by a sergeant of the Confederate Army. Sergeant Benjamin R. Gormley. It's the person who wrote this poem. It's called Olustee. In case you want to read that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really good poem. So the third lesson is the Emancipation Proclamation, and here we read it and discuss an excerpt of the Emancipation Proclamation, and I have them do KWL charts as we go along with that and that discussion. Then the fourth lesson is the Underground Railroad, and I have them do a reader's theater on Harriet Tubman. It's actually called, it was one I found online called Harriet Tubman alias Moses, Joe's story. So this was a pretty neat, it was actually a pretty neat lesson. Students got to do a reader's theater on one of the most famous conductor of the Underground Railroad, and this was based on a biography of Harriet Tubman. It was based on an excerpt. So, the last lesson was on the Civil War to civil rights. This was basically a wrap-up lesson on the Civil War, and then briefly explaining how it led to the civil rights movement. And I focused the lesson on Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, which I felt was perfect for leading into a discussion on civil rights. Power cards. Then we have our power cards. For the first lesson, I have a power card on Abraham Lincoln. And then for the second lesson, a power card on the Battle of Olustee. The third lesson, a power card or learning card on the Emancipation Proclamation.
Sorry.
The fourth lesson, I did a learning card on Harriet Tubman. And then the last one is a learning card on just briefly outlining how the Civil War led to the civil rights movement. So I titled it The Story of Equality. Next, we have the Civil War timeline activity. This is the first file folder activity I created for the first lesson. And it inside you have a timeline, and the object of the game is students will identify events that led to the American Civil War and be able to label them on a timeline with 95% accuracy. So students, there's two people who can play this game, and they'll just take turns quizzing each other on the events. And I have pieces in here which have the pictures, as you can see, of events in which they will stick on here. I don't know which one this one goes to, but yeah. So that's that activity. And then for the second lesson, since it was on a poem that we did of the Battle of Olustee, the second file folder game is a figurative language file folder game where they learn about the different types of figurative language, or at least some of the different types. There are many types, but I chose 8 of them, and they read excerpts from the poem Alessi, as well as from other poems that are Civil War poems. So we have like a poem about Gettysburg and a poem on, I think, the Battle of Bull Run. But there's like little excerpts of the poem, and then they have to read it, figure out what kind of figurative speech is depicted in this poem, and put it in the pocket, in the correct pocket. So it's a figurative language matching game. And then we have the Emancipation Proclamation. It's also kind of a matching game. The objective is students will read short answers of the Emancipation Proclamation and match it to the relating picture that illustrates what the excerpt is about with 95% accuracy. So here they have strips with excerpts from the Emancipation Proclamation. Attached to the back of them is Velcro so they can take it off. And I'm not going to do it because I don't want to mess it up. But they can take it off, and then they have to match it to the correct picture. Or they can do it vice versa and match the correct picture to the correct excerpt. I have pictures here illustrating what each excerpt is about. Then for the fourth file folder game, it's an Underground Railroad quilt code game. And so I cited where I got this game. It's not actually my own idea, but I had found it online and just really liked it, so I decided to use it for my file folder game. And basically it's a board game, and the objective is that students will play the Underground Railroad quote code game to understand and apply how secret messages were used to assist slaves when escaping into freedom through the Underground Railroad with 85% accuracy. And I have instructions inside of the pocket here. I have all the pieces that they need, the quilt patterns with the cards with quilt patterns. And game pieces. You would need like a paper clip, like binder clips for these to sit on so they can move it around the board. But each piece is a snapshot of an escaped slave who had escaped through the Underground Railroad. So this one's Sojourner Truth, and I have Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, and one other one, Josiah Henson. And that was from Relentlessly Fun, Deceptively Educational. It's a blog. So, and it has other activities on there. But Anyway, so for the last one, this one's kind of a review game. So, and it's based on the childhood game Guess Who. So students, I put on my own little twist. I don't have them just guess people. I also have them guess events. So this is like kind of the answer cheat sheet. And inside here, you have the pieces that go in here. Oops. And then, they just guess. They have to like take turns guessing and quizzing each other on events and people of the Civil War. So, lastly, my interactive bulletin board. I have it decorated as the Union and the Confederate flag. Students have pictures of two of the major generals, Robert E. Lee and Ulysses S. Grant, and a picture of an event. This is Abraham Lincoln giving the Gettysburg Address. Then I have 3 different activities. The first one is reform movements photo task cards. It's kind of like the Guess Who, and there's cards in here in which I have to take off the header to get it out. So, but I'll just tell you, there's cards and they have pictures of different things like people. They have pictures of different people and events, like the Underground Railroad. There's Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, and the South, and these are like reform movements, and they're asked like, who am I? And they have to guess like and match it with the correct picture. Then this is a 2-part activity. So I have the first part here and the second part here. And it's American Civil War. It's on the American Civil War battles, and there's the first activity here is a trifold research activity for one battle. So students get to pick one battle that maybe they're interested in particularly and research that battle, and they fill out these worksheets. On some of their information, but they create a trifold poster on that battle, like this one. But they have the opportunity to create their own. Then this one is a a research lesson on the events after the after General Lee's surrender at Appomattox, or whatever how you say it. I'm not sure how to say it. Sorry. But this can be done in either individually or in groups, and they research particular events after General Lee's surrender, and they're validating information is what they're doing. It says some sites might
Chapter reference.
I'm looking for it. Well, they go online and research their event that they choose, and they answer these questions, validating the information, because there could be various different information telling different things. So they're comparing and analyzing information about these events. So that's that activity. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed viewing my presentation of the activities. And good luck with your finishing up the semester.